From the south shore of picturesque Lake Léman on the edge of the Rhône-Alpes region in the city of Evian in southeastern France, we welcome you to qualifying day for round number 2 of the 2015 UIM Formula One H2O World Championship Tour for powerboating at the 19th Grand Prix of France. Hi everybody, I'm your host Steve Michael along with my longtime partner, multi-time world champion Jonathan Jones, and we greet you live from the lovely city of Evian, and we are so excited about returning to this spectacular country for the first time in 8 seasons and having France back on the World Championship calendar once again. However, before we dive headlong into the excitement that is qualifying, let's set the stage by giving you a video postcard of the spectacular lakeside city that is Evian here in France. Elegantly perched on the border between France and Switzerland, northeast of Geneva in the East French Alps, Evian's internationally renowned healing waters have lured health-conscious visitors from around the world since 1824. It's France's most celebrated spa resort. But this is only the beginning. There are so many must-sees on your tour to Evian. Start by going to the famous water and musical gardens, followed by a trip to the thermal spa. Then try your luck at the largest themed casino in Europe. And how about a 35-minute boat trip across the lake to the lovely Riviera town of Lausanne on the Swiss side? Evian recently won the award for the best resort in France by the World Travel Awards, judging the total beauty, the proximity to summer and winter activities, all along with its famous healing waters, adding up to one of Europe's must-see areas. Feel more culture, feel more water, feel more relaxation, feel more fun, feel Evian, France. Well, 95 days ago, the curtain went up on the season in the always tricky conditions of Doha Bay, and qualifying took place early race day morning to settle who would earn the first pole position of the season. Here's a short look back at the drama of Q3 in the top 6 shootout in Doha. Drivers from 11 different countries were ready to handle the rough waters at Doha Bay for the first race of the year. Eric Stark came out, and then this man came out with Ahmed Al-Hamli, who did a 44.25. He did a 170 km/h lap, looking for pole position. Up next was the driver from Kuwait, Yusuf Al-Robian from the Formula One Atlantic team, did a 44.61, a little bit quicker. Up next was the world champion Philippe Schepp, looking for his 3rd pole position in the last 3 races. He came by, did a blistering 43.4. He thought maybe he had a great chance, the enthusiasm of that team, as he finished off on a flyer on his last lap. But next came Sean Torrente, the driver out of Miami, Florida, looking for the pole, and he set a sizzling time as Torrente did a 42.75, and it all came down to this man, Sami Salio, looking for his 25th pole position. He couldn't get it done. He did a 45.29. The Qatar team was number 1, and Sean Torrente, in his last race ever with this Qatar organization, picked up the number 1 spot with a sizzling 42.75. There's your top 6 in Doha. Welcome back, and already we've got an incident on the race course. We welcome you here live to Doha in official qualifying. It looks like it's David Delpin, the rookie out of Italy, driving for Team Abu Dhabi, and Alex Corella's teammate. He had an accident going down in toward the front straightaway, heading down into turn number 2, which is down near the far end of where we are. And you can see it here. He stabs the buoy and spears it, and then slides off the race course. So obviously getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar, as we say, Jonathan. Boy, I'll tell you something, that's something you don't want to do to start off a long weekend.
No, you can see that the turn boys actually speared onto the front of the boat there, so that's going to hold things up a little bit. You can see we're on a yellow flag at the moment. Steve, water conditions have changed dramatically in the last hour, that's for sure. You know, it's getting really rough out there.
Jonathan, let's talk about the circuit here. You've won this race 2 times in France, never here the first time we're here. This looks like challenging course, and we're seeing it already.
Yeah, it's a 2-kilometre circuit, and for the first time in a lot of races, we've got an open circuit where we can actually overtake. It's so good to see that. The circuits we've run this year so far, and also all of last year, they were these sort of point and squirt circuits, no length at all to them, and no opportunity to overtake. But here on the lake here in Evian, as you can see, you've got a wide open track, so we're going to see a lot of exciting racing. We're going to see overtaking for the first time, in my opinion, and you can see there the length of the circuit. You come down past the start-finish line into turn number 2, 590 metres, good length there, and then you can float the boat around between turn 2 and turn number 3 and down the long back straight where the conditions are really blowing up now. You can see the winds come in from the west side, and we're starting to get some rollers coming out on the circuit. There you've got the only right-hand turn, which is number 4, up to number 5, 450 metres, and again you can skirt around between 5 and 6. You can float the boat around there, pick up some speed as you come down to the start-finish line, another 360 metres.
Yeah, and of course the conditions are changing at the moment. Now, they called for thunderstorms about this time of day 2 days ago in the weather, and they kept insisting it may happen, but right now we've just got scattered clouds. Let's talk a little bit about the official qualifying itself. Here's how it's going to unfold. Let's begin by giving you a rundown of what you're going to expect to see here in this next hour. Now, the first, we have the format of 3 qualifying sessions, beginning what we're doing right now in Q1, where we're going to eliminate 6 of the slowest drivers in this first 20-minute session. And then following a short intermission, we'll bring the field back out onto the circuit, eliminating 6 more drivers. And we'll have that 20-minute Q2 session, leaving us with the top 6 for the shootout. At this juncture, that final pressure-packed Q3 session, we'll see each driver coming out one at a time to go around this challenging 6-pin circuit, driving for 2 solo laps in search of the quickest time, and looking for that number 1 pole position here at the 19th Grand Prix of France. So that's the story with that. Now let's tell you what, Jonathan, I think an interesting aspect here is the Osprey rescue team. As you go on board, you can see the boats going around. They hustled out there into the corner, and they've got a new boat, they've got a new engine. They've decked themselves out, they've kitted themselves out pretty well for 2015. The Osprey rescue team has put themselves in a position to really commit themselves for the future.
Oh, they certainly have. As you say, they've designed and built 2 new boats. Mercury have been very helpful and supplied them with one or two of their latest 4-stroke engines, and they say that they're performing really well. The bottom end on these inflatables that Osprey have got is dramatically improved, and as you say, every year they improve the boats. They find that maybe there's a shortfall in a certain area, and these new ones they're top quality kit, and they're out there, and without Osprey, we would not be racing. I certainly wouldn't be alive today. That's how important they are at every Grand Prix.
Yeah, and it's great to see the new commitment that they've put together, just continually changing and challenging themselves to be better and better. I'll tell you what, let's talk a little bit about the American Sean Torrente. He leads this championship, and after his victory in Doha in March, since that time, he's been scrambling. The Qatar team disbanded shortly after, leaving him with no race, no ride, and little hope of continuing, but never giving up. He aligned himself with a victory organization out of Dubai, and now the 36-year-old from Florida is back and ready to attack. Let's hear from Sean Torrente. You've had 3 career poles. Let's talk a little bit about the last race in Doha for you, getting the pole position that came down to the very end.
Yeah, the goal is always pole, and Qatar team, we got a lot of those, and we were always really prepared. This is a different situation. It's a new team, not very much time to prepare just because of the schedule. So I think our goals are a little bit different this weekend, but we still are going to try hard.
Sean, you're in a Baba. You haven't been in a Baba boat for a while.
Yeah, last time I was in one, it was really fast. It didn't end the way we wanted, but we were in a very similar situation. We didn't have very much time to prepare, and we missed the pole by just a couple hundredths of a second. So they're fast for sure. We just hope that it all comes together, and the team has done a really good job in the short time to put it all together. So hopefully I can go do my job and everything runs good, and we'll see how we are.
Now this boat particularly has got an interesting history to it. It's been sitting a bit too, so you must have gone over it quite a bit.
Yeah, the guys have spent the last 3 days basically rebuilding it front to back, 15, 16 hours a day, just checking every nut bolt, changing everything that they could change. just trying to do the bbest we could to mitigate the risk of having a failure. I mean, that's really what it's about. So I feel pretty good about it. We'll see how it goes in qualifying. I want to get some time in it, get a little bit of comfort in it. Hopefully it's fast enough that I can do that in Q1 and give a good fight for Q2 to try and get into the shootout.
6 pins around today. It's a long circuit. You got a long boat.
Yeah. So if it stays really, really calm, like it is, like it's been the last few days, we don't have the right boat. But the thing about this place is it's a huge lake. So if there's any breeze whatsoever, it's going to get rough, and we might not qualify one. But in the race, if it's at all rough, we're going to have a really good setup.
Hey, 2 wins in the last 4, been on the podium 8 times in the last 12 races. Best of luck today, getting pole number 2 for 2015.
Thanks, Steve. Just points. You need more points to defend that lead.
Jonathan, I like not only his calm, but his demeanor and his confidence going into this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Sean is that, he used to be really erratic and make a lot of mistakes, but he's calmed down a lot now, Steve, in the last couple of events. And there's no question, whatever you put him in, he's going to do well. Because, like, everybody's good at something. He happens to be exceptionally good at driving a powerboat, and they put him in this boat. He hasn't even sat in it before today. In free practice this morning, he was the quickest, and there we go. Just something of interest there, Steve. Del Pin's boat. Look, not only did he spear the turn boy, but he's ripped half of the boat out, starting to sink at the moment. And does he realise that? Look, the back of the boat is getting lower and lower. The engine is soon going to take in a lot of this water. And I can tell you, he ain't going to be out for practice this afternoon in qualifying.
No, this is pretty well going to sink his chances right now, literally and physically, if he can keep on going. Of course, he's in radio communication. He's hearing from the crew chief as they discuss it. And Team Abu Dhabi, of course, has hired the best, Jonathan. They've brought over from the Qatar team, which has won 4 world championships in the last 6 years. And, of course, Brendan Powers, now the engine management director. Look at the engine now starting to heat up. You can see it literally. It's trying its best to get back to the crane area. Yeah. And you've got to be very careful when you take this boat out if it makes it to the crane area, because you don't want to lift it up at once, because all that water and the weight will totally destroy the boat.
Yeah, it's obviously taken a lot of water. You can see on that sponson that appears to be damaged. Difficult to say, because what they've done is they've wrapped this boat, as they do with fast cars these days and things like that. They haven't sprayed it, and we don't know whether it's the wrapping that's hanging off or whether it's half of the boat that's hanging off, but it looks like it's the sponson, the entire sponson, and he isn't going to be going very far. I was surprised when he was on the top turn by there, Steve, that the rescue people hadn't hitched him onto the front and taken him straight back to the pontoon. He's had to do a full lap all the way round, sinking as he goes along. You can see the steam coming off the back of that engine now, and he's in big trouble.
Well, the 2 people that are pushing the buttons for this team literally have well over 50 years experience, so they may have just said to him, bring it back in under your own power and we can keep going with it. Well, the question is, how much damage is he going to inflict? As you said, it's a carbon fiber boat, a lot different than the old days when you were racing with the Okoi and Obichi wood that would bend, flex, and then snap when you had a hard accident.
Yeah, Formula One moved into, they had to move with the times, and in the mid-90s, we started making carbon fiber boats, all the various boat builders, and the other thing is it opened the market to a lot more people, because to build a wooden boat is very, very difficult, and it needs a lot of skill, and there aren't that many people out there that can do it. But with these composite boats, you make a shape of the boat, you then make a mold, and then you basically lay it up with carbon fiber. And it is, once you get the hang of how carbon fiber works and things like that, it's a lot easier. The problem is when you want to make changes to the boat, let's say you wanted to make the boat a little bit shorter, alter the shape of the sponsons or whatever, now it's a major problem, because you have to make the shape, you have to make a separate mold, and then you've got to make the part, and then you've got to scarf that part into the boat and hopefully try and make it work. So it has made boats a lot more expensive, but obviously because these boats are away for such a long time during the year, it means means that if there are small crashes or whatever, they can be repaired fairly quickly.
David Delpin, one of the young core of youngsters racing. He's just 24 years old. He raced F2 last year. He was third in the Italian Championship, and he was seventh in the World Championship. David Delpin drastically trying to get back to the crane area. I'll tell you what, let's take a look at the starting lineup of drivers. Now, we started with 12 different nations of drivers, 19 in total, that were coming here this weekend. Already we have lost one driver, even before this afternoon. As you take a look at the unofficial time so far, we've only run 1 minute and 47 seconds into this, so these times don't really mean much. But really, I think the interesting thing is that with the driver that we lost, Van Azenhofer from Austria, he failed to start the race in Doha, and now it's the tank on the boat actually split the fuel tank, and they can't run the boat. They've got to take it back to Italy and get it fixed on the team that he runs with, which is the Motorglass F1 team with Francesco Catando.
Yeah, I asked him what happened, and basically in free practice this morning he was running down the back straight at quite high speed, and there were some rollers coming in from one of the ferries on the other side of the excuse me, the other side of the bay. And of course he saw the first one, and then he trimmed the engine in, which dropped the front of the nose, but he dropped it a little bit too much, and the whole thing just nosedived and went down. And because it sort of stressed the boat as it went under the water, it actually split the fuel tank. So unfortunately he's out for today, but good news is that he's sponsored by Regal Boats France, and my understanding is that now that he's committed for the rest of the season, so you're going to see a guy there. It's going to take some time, you know, to get into the swing of running against some of these top drivers, but you know, hopefully in the future we'll see a strong German driver competing.
Yeah, let's take a look at actually what happened here, Jonathan, to him this morning in free practice. And as he was out there running, now let's look for the wave here. There's the launch, and then now you're trying to save it, and you can't. You launched off the wave, you got airborne, and now you become just a passenger. You're doing your best. You're frantically trying to trim the boat up, but through the air, it happened so fast, there was no way he could correct it.
No, I mean, he was doing about 135 mile an hour there, at least, going down the back straight. You could see he hit the first wash, the first wave. Didn't look too bad. And then as he hit the second one, there were enormous rollers in front of him. He tried to bring the boat down, otherwise he'd have blown it over, and just trimmed it a little bit too much, he was telling me, and nosedived. And that can happen to anybody. It's not because he was inexperienced. It's the fact that, you know, they had no idea that those rollers were on the far side of the circuit.
So one driver gone, and now we have David Delpin, the youngster, the 24-year-old out of Italy, who, by the way, enjoys rock climbing when he's not out on a boat, and he also plays American football. Wide receiver, defense, he's stopping the run, so
yeah,
he loves doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the front runner in that team is obviously Alex Carella, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on him now because Team Abu Dhabi have changed. They got rid of Scott Gilman, who's now set up another team in his own name, and that's looking very, very strong with Ahmed Al-Hamli that was with him last year, and Stark, the Swedish driver, looking good. But going back to Abu Dhabi, obviously they've got Carella there at the moment. Delpin is the second driver, who looks like now he could be out for the rest of the afternoon. So a lot of pressure on Alex Carella there, current world champion and a very, very strong runner out there. And Abu Dhabi seem to be really throwing a lot of money at that team this year, and I'm sure they're going to expect results, that's for sure. So every last member of that team is going to be under a tremendous amount of pressure to perform right the way through the year.
Yeah, we talk so much about the Drivers' Championship, who wins the world title, but we also have the other Keen Championship, which is the team championship itself. And boy, I'll tell you what, that's bragging rights. And now, as we shift back into what you were talking about, Jonathan, we've got new teams here involved. Let's get you updated a little bit. First of all, the victory team with Sean Torrente. Sean had the fastest time in free practice this morning. He did a 47.5. Surprised a lot of people in a boat that's been sitting literally in a shelf for 2 years in the heat out in Dubai with the victory team. Well, the victory team is a fantastic organization, and they take nothing less than victory. So they realized, I chatted with them this morning, Reef Al-Zafin, who was there. He was a tremendous driver himself, and he was talking to us a little earlier saying, listen, the reason why we took Sean on board was because we know how intensive a driver he is and how he wants to win so badly, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got the first division drivers here, and then you've got the Premier League, you know, and Sean really is he's on top of his game at the moment, no question about it. He's very confident, but not overconfident. And like I say, whatever boat you put him in, he's going to be quick. He's got some good crew members behind him that moved from Team Qatar that they disbanded earlier this year, and they know exactly what they need to do. And you know, whatever boat you put him in, he's going to perform, and he's going to perform right at the front. And my money was on him this morning. You know, he said, "Oh, I'm happy if I get into the top 5." And I said, "Get out of here, top 5." I said, "You're here to win." And he said, "I know, but you know, I want to do a good job for this new Victory team." I mean, Victory obviously been sort of controlled Formula One, Class 1 offshore for many, many years, and now they run this XCAT series, which is very, very successful, and they're taking that around the world. They're funding all of it, and of course now they've seen this opportunity with Sean. I've seen a lot of them have turned up this morning, and you know, they're very impressed with this driver and with the other members of crew that are there. And I think what they've got to do is they've got to assist them financially, obviously get involved on the technical side, but they've got to give them space, let them do what, don't try and dictate to them and tell them this is what we got to do. Don't upset the apple cart. Let them just get on with the job, and if they do that, then I think that will be a very, very successful team in the future.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Now, another team, of course, that has been added is the Maverick team, boat number 73, Cedric Deguine. Guess what, Jonathan? He's back since 2005. We hadn't seen him. Of course, he's the second-generation driver of Jean Vital, his father, who raced on the tour from 1995 through 97. Now, he comes back from the French S2000 and S3000 ranks, where he has won the 24 Hours of Rome many times, including in 2015. So he's a talented driver. It's great to have him back.
He is, and he's basically using a lot of the equipment that he uses in what they call S3000, which is a national class in France. So the boat's a little bit longer, not quite so wide with so much lift in it, and the horsepower of the engine is probably down about 75 horsepower. But you know, he's here on home soil, and he'll certainly be reliable, and he's got a lot of experience. And fingers crossed, you know, we've got three French drivers out here now. Fingers crossed he'll come away with a good result this weekend. And then, of course, if he does that, chances are he's going to stick with the series until the end of the year.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic. And how about Christophe Larigo? He's with the new Emic team. It's a new rebranding, and he's, we'll see how he does. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. He's also another rookie. So a lot of stories we're going to be talking about here in the next 2 days. But the good news is the green flag is coming back out, and Jonathan, we're going back into this 20 minutes of Q1.
The good news is the flag's out. The bad news is the conditions have got even worse to what they were earlier on, and boy, these boats are going to have a handful out there. There's no way they're going to be being able to run at top speed, and keep a watch out for them, because we could see 1 or 2 blowovers here as they go down the long back straight.
Yeah, they're starting to swirl a bit. This Lac Le Mans on this side, and of course Lake Geneva on the other side of Switzerland. Same lake, 2 different ways to call the lake body. But really, the philosophy here, Jonathan, is, you know, that 6 drivers are going to be asked to leave here, and the top 12 move on. So the fast guys need just to set 1 lap, but that's going to be a hairy 1 lap, I'll tell you that. They're going to have to really suck it up. This is really entertaining stuff, because they're really teetering on the edge of disaster here.
They certainly are. And the longer boats, as we said earlier on, a lot of the boats here are very, very short and difficult to control in rough conditions. So the longer boats, probably like that one that Sean Torrente has been talking about today, that may play into his hands.
Well, as we look at the youngest driver on the tour, Philip Rams, the youngster out of Finland, and he came in here. He's Sami Selio's teammate. Started the year in 13th and finished up in the 8th position. So we just kind of roll along here. We don't really have the timing working at the moment, but use your watch, Jonathan. We'll do it the old way here.
Yeah, I mean, when we say the timing's working and that they can register the times, but we don't at the moment know exactly how much time there is before they finish the first session. And some of these boats really bouncing around out there, Steve. You watch, you can see them there now. You can see Philip Roms there, that young driver from Finland. He's got a slightly longer boat, but I don't know, I'm sure he's not going to like these conditions out here this afternoon, and it's going to be interesting. But at the moment, let's look at where we are. Number 1, Josef, I beg your pardon, Al Rubayan, running there. 0.77, Sami Salio now starting slowly but surely to pick up speed. Carella in third, Philip Roms in fourth, pretty good. Cedric de Guin, you know, I said he had this big boat, it'll suit these conditions. He's up in fifth there. Philippe Chap in sixth, Stark in seventh, now he's dropped down to eighth. Things are changing. Chiap, the French driver, the guy that we're all looking out for this year, world champion last year, and he's up in seventh at the moment, and they're only going to do what they need to do. They're not going to take any chances in this first session, Steve.
Absolutely.
As long as they're in that top 12 boats, they're going to be happy.
Absolutely, and we talked about that. You just need one lap, one hard lap to get you into that top 12 to move on and hope the conditions get better in Q2. So far, some of the winners are, look at Jesper Fors, he's in that fourth spot. Philip Roms is in the fifth spot. So some of the youngsters with Cedric de Guin up in the fourth, fifth, and sixth spots, still waiting to move up. Well, let's take a look. Marit Stromoy down in 15th. Sean Torrente down in 14th position. And Ahmed Al-Hamli in the 12th position. So we're just kind of waiting to see some of the stronger drivers. They may be taking their time, biding their time to find a good lap to make a run at it.
Yeah, keeping an eye now. Here we go, Torrente back on the circuit. And boy, is he going there as he comes down past us. First position, 1.89 seconds. You could see the balance of that boat is absolutely perfect, Steve. You know, they've obviously moved a lot of the ballast around in the boat, put some nose weight in there so the nose doesn't start flying too much. Pick the right propeller that holds the back of the boat in the water. You can see there, number 7, Sean Torrente, 1.89 ahead now. He's done enough. He just needs to get off that circuit, because I honestly don't feel that by the end of this session the conditions are going to get any better.
Sean Torrente, who's got Alex Conzi with him now on the headset. Interesting aspect of the team that he now is building around him, because he's got two people that were at one time part of the Qatar team and were not asked to go to Team Abu Dhabi when Brendan Power went and Bill Rucker went. So they're out to push their old driver as hard as they can. Of course, they worked with Alex Carella, but they've also been very, very close with Sean Torrente, so they've got something to prove here, this victory team today.
Yeah, they certainly have. Al-Hamli now moved up into second position, the Abu Dhabi driver that just over 12 months ago was in really bad shape. I mean, he had a brain tumor, and the government in Abu Dhabi got him out to, I believe it was Dayton or somewhere like that in America. They operated on him, and you know, it's amazing that he's looking so well, but truly amazing that he's out of boat here, running in second position, now dropped down to third. Alex Carella up to second, and you know, as I say, doing a hell of a job there. But he's got such a passion for the sport, Steve. That's why he's determined to carry on racing.
Well, there you see Sean Torrente. What has he done lately? Well, he's now leading in the championship. Won the opening round in Doha, has earned 20 points. You get 20 points for the win, 15 for second, 12 for third, and so on and so forth. So he leads this championship. He's won 2 of his last 4 races, 4 straight podiums, 8 podiums in the last 12 starts. As we look at the youngster coming back, Cedric de Guin, really not a youngster anymore. It's been 9 years since the last time we saw him. He's 41 years old, and again, he's a second-generation driver who's had 8 starts. He's had 1 top 10. His father only had 1 top 10 too. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, look at the boat in him, Steve. You can see it's narrow in the tunnel, so it hasn't got too much lift. It's very, very long, and it's perfect for these conditions. And at the moment, even though he's down something like 75 horsepower on some of these other boats there, he's hanging in there, 6th position, 2.5 off pole at the moment, and looking good.
And of course, a driver like him, who's a marathon driver for hour after hour in the 24-hour races and the 6-hour races, hey, this is cake. You run for an hour and 15 minutes for 3 qualifying sessions. This is easy for him. Yeah,
you can see all these other boats bobbing around on the water there as they try to keep control as they go down the straights. But you look how smooth he is in that boat. Number 73, the French driver there, doing a hell of a job and still hanging in there. Oh, he's dropped 1 position, now he's down to 7th. But I'm sure he's going to be very, very happy with the way that boat's going.
No, I think he'll do well. Now, he came to Formula One all the way back in 2004. Remember, we said we haven't seen him since 2005. With the Comparado racing team, his first race was in Mumbai in India. And he started 6 races that year, with India being his best qualifying result, which was 14th. and his best career finish is a 10th. So his best ever is 14th. Be fun to watch him to see how he does. And here's a guy that's been running steady.
Yeah,
trying to improve. Sami Celio, third quickest. Celio, as we talked about, has got 20-plus pole positions. He knows how to win. I'll tell you something. His first ever win was here in France, back in La Rochelle in 2007, when he came up with his first victory in 2007, went on to win the World Championship that year.
Yeah. You could just see there, Sami Celio there now, trying to sort of pick a good spot where he sees that the conditions sort of seem to calm off a little bit before he goes for it. He's in third position at the moment. He's only 0.8 of a second off pole, so he's sitting pretty there. And we just saw going into shot a few moments ago. You could see Massimo Rogero from Italy there helping the team, and also building these Baba boats, the boat that actually Sean Torrente is running, as you can see the camera there behind him. But Sami Celio again just waiting, biding his time there, keeping wide of all the other boats, waiting for a clear spot to see if he can improve on his time.
Celio in his 126th career start has 12 victories in his career. He's had 39 podiums. He's been in the top 6 shootout 78 times in his career. So he knows how to get to the front. And as I said, he's had 22 pole positions. In France here, he's raced 4 times. Now, he is one of 3 drivers, by the way, that raced in Chalon-sur-Saône, which was back in 2000. So 15 years ago, as you look at Jonas Anderson. Now, Anderson finished 4th at the first race in Doha. And I think he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. He's going to be a contender here this weekend.
Yeah, they basically kept the cell of this boat, but they've redesigned the entire boat. The boat builder Molgard from Denmark has worked on some new sponsons. He's very, very happy with it. He's got some new sponsorship now from one of his good friends who runs a machine type of company that dig roads and the like out in Sweden, and we're going to give them a good mention this weekend, Steve, because they're really helping Jonas creep his way back to the top, because on his day, if everything's running right, that guy is as quick as anybody out here.
Always trying the newest and latest in technology. You'll notice on our screen that we were showing you just moments ago, G meters, as Jonas goes to number 2 up on the board, just behind Joseph Al-Robian, who is number 1. Torrente's down in 3rd. But again, they're just trying to get to the top 12. Get there, hold it there, and try to move on to Q2 to get you into the top 6.
Yeah, Chiap now found a little bit of clear water there. Let's see what he can do on this lap. It's down the far end of the circuit. They've got to be really careful there, because the rollers are coming in from the far end, and we're on board with him now, Steve. So you can see a complete lap with a French driver, with the current world champion, and you can see how rough the water is there as he skips along to the far end of the circuit.
Yeah, comes by in turn number 1, heads down into turn number 2. Look at the beautiful layout here along the marina as he works his way around. He's up into that 5th position now. He's about 0.8 of a second behind the leader, Al-Robian. And that beautiful Moore-built boat, continually updating the boat. He went through 3 different boats last year. Design, improvement, improvement, and improvement a 3rd time. And that was what he needed, because he had to win back-to-back victories in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah. He did just that from the pole and won the world title.
Yeah, very, very close-knit team. This is the boats are built in France by David Moore, and he's doing a marvelous job working very, very closely with Chiap there. The engines come from Alex Ledden in Canada. He's probably one of the main guys of tuning these Mercury engines, and he really is on top of his game. And they're now using new propellers from a guy called Mr. Dynamite from. Right. Never seen him before this year, but he's been working on these propellers over the winter. And I said to Philippe, how do you find them? Good acceleration, he said. Very, very strong propellers, doing a great job for us. So that's why they've got this strong package, which enabled them to win the championship last year. And you'll see he's one of the front runners for this season as well.
Yeah, Mr. Dynamite's here, and he's watching, and he's helping his best because he came up with some wonderful ideas for propellers for Philippe at the very end of last season, enough to propel him to that championship. Now remember, last year at this time, Philippe Shep finished in 2nd place at the opener in Doha. Alex Carrella won the original race in 2014. Then he took no points in the 2nd race of the season. So he really caught up and then lunged his way to the championship coming from behind. So Philippe Shep got to be feeling good right now. I mean, hey, he's feeling the pressure, but he's handling it well. There's been so much media attention here in France, really focusing in on this world champion, and why not?
And he's in that 5th position at the moment, but like I say, don't read too much into that, because he's a wily driver and he knows I'll do just enough so I can get into the next session. There's no point trying to set the world alight now. It's when he gets into that top 6 is when they're all going to really have to push. But we've got Rubayan, the Q80 driver, up in 1st, Jonas Anderson now in 2nd, Torrente 3rd, and Sami Selyo in 4th.
Yeah, and right now it's desperation time for a few drivers, because we're less than 2 minutes before we wrap this thing up. In the top 12, who's out of it so far? Well, Cedric Deguine is 13th. Merit Stromoy is in 14th. Guess what? We've seen this from her before. And farther down is Leo Zhuang in the 15th spot. You can look down on your screen and see the final 4 boats with Bartek Marzalak, who has come back and joined Formula One here with the Rainbow team, and I'll tell you something, for him, or make that the Motorglass team, and for him, and then David Opin's out. So Duarte Benavente didn't even start, didn't even come out, and that's a mystery to me, Jonathan. I don't know what happened. So that's a shame for the Portuguese driver, who has the representatives from Porto here this weekend as they get set for our next Grand Prix, and that'll be in a month's time when we head to the lovely location of Porto in Portugal. And oh my, woo, hanging on at the very end, right in front of us. And off the screen, Cedric Deguine launched the boat. He's trying desperately, Jonathan. He is sitting there just on the outside looking in. And looks like Christophe Larigo's done well. He's moved himself up into the top 12. He is in the 12th position. And for him, he's on the catbird seat. And tell you what, I think he's moved into Q2 here, Jonathan, as the time is pretty much over here. We're down to the final few seconds. Anything can happen. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
and you can see there Bartek Marzalak, the Polish driver, pushing there, but the boat doesn't look very well balanced on the water. It's again one of these very short DACs, tremendous acceleration and mid-range, but when the conditions get like this, you've really got to be a top driver. And I think he's only had this boat recently, and so hasn't done a lot of testing, and he's enjoying Formula One, but I bet he's not enjoying being out there today, that's for sure.
As we look at Bartek, just in front of him is Marit Stromoy, and she has done so much to try to make giant improvements with her boat. As we watch her now in desperation, she's done this so many times, Jonathan, just when you think she's going to be tossed out of Q2, not get there, she does it at the last second. Right now, she's down in 14th, Jonathan. She's going to need to move herself up about 3.5 seconds. The whistle comes out, checkered flag, and for her, it looks like this is her last opportunity, Jonathan. It's all or nothing now. She's got 2 more corners. Can Marit Stromoy fight her way and surprise the rest of the field as she comes out of the corner? We're about ready to find out.
Out of the last corner, boat looking not too bad out there, Steve, as it runs on the water.
All right, we hold our breath, Jonathan. Did she go up higher? And she unofficially did not. No. She did not move.
That surprised me. But Steve, I don't know whether she was too late coming out. I think they'd actually called the time session before she came around. She was about 10 seconds too late crossing the line to do a fast lap, and that means she's out. And that will hurt her tomorrow, there's no question about it, because grid position here is paramount. If you can get pole position, you've got a straight line into the first turn, you've got the shortest amount of distance to cover, so it'll mean a big thing, even on a circuit like this. But I'll tell you something, Steve, what's going to be good about tomorrow, I have no doubt in my mind, if the conditions stay like this, we are going to see a belter of a race. This is going to be one of the best races that we've seen this year, because like I said earlier on, for the first time, you've got open water, you've got space, we can actually overtake. So all these spectators that have come from all around Europe to watch this Grand Prix, they're going to be in for a good day tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic, because there's creating possibilities of a lot of passing tomorrow, and that's exactly what you need to have. So that's been a wonderful, wonderful addition. So as the drivers start to come out, we have eliminated, as we talked about, there were 18 drivers that took the flag for Q1, down with 6 drivers gone. And Christophe Larigo, the French rookie in that number 51 machine, made it on to the Q2 session as her more noted teammate, Marit Stromoy. And Marit Stromoy, who has earned a pole position in her career, she did not get any farther than Q1 because she finished in that 14th position, part of that new Emick team based out of Abu Dhabi. So there you see Bartek Marsalak, the driver who didn't start the year. Bartek raced last year, and the driver from Poland whose father was a many-time world champion in different classes. And this is his 4th season. He was tied for 7th last year. He picked up a total of 16 points. He finished in the top 10 in every race last year. His best weekend, by the way, was the 5th. As you look on, and you can see some of the other drivers parking their boats and getting themselves all queued up and ready to go. So there you go. These are the top positions after that Q1 session. Yusuf Al-Robian, known for his speed in Formula 2, jumps to the top of the table. Remember, as you look farther down, only the top 12 move on. These are the drivers that have disappeared and will not get an opportunity to go for pole position. So Yusuf Al-Robian from Kuwait, known as a speed merchant. We go back to 0 numbers, though, however. We go into Q2, and then we start anew for 20 minutes. And only at that time we'll get a chance to see. Let's go down to Jonathan. Jonathan, you're right up in the mix in timing and scoring. What's going on, buddy?
Okay, so with me here we've got Alex Radovanovic, who's actually running Josef Al-Rubayan, who's leading at the moment out there after the first test session. Boat looks very strong. He looks good out there. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, it looks very strong. I'm even surprised with this. The conditions are really, really bad, but we push as much as we can. And we are really happy with this result.
How have you got the balance of the boat so good? Because he's now running one of these very, very short boats, the very white ones, but it looks really good on the top of the water. It's skipping right over the top, isn't it?
Yeah, we try to do our best. This is our secret.
So is that down to ballast? Are you putting weight in the front of the boat to keep the front of the boat down? You know, how do you go about setting up a boat for these rough conditions?
Yeah, we put a little bit more weight in the front, so the boat, I think it performs really well.
Yeah, and do you reckon there's a chance that he may get pole position here today?
We'll see, but we like this condition.
Okay, good luck, Alex, and best of luck for the race tomorrow as well.
All right, Alex Radovanovic, and I'll tell you something. He was a long-time racer in Formula One. His father actually was the first driver ever from the Yugoslav region to race in Formula One many, many years ago. So Alex is now watching his buddy and longtime friend Yusuf Al-Robian do well, and good for him. So he moved himself up to the top of the order ahead of Jonas Anderson and Sean Torrente. And as the drivers slowly make their way out, there's Liu Zhuang. What a shame for the driver out of Shenzhen, China. In that 15th position, he will not move on any farther. He is the teammate of Philippe Shep. And for Liu Zhuang coming into this race, this is his 15th career start. And Leo was hoping to move into Q2. Last year he had 3 top 10 finishes, but he was 7th in Doha this year. Second every race for him. This is his 2nd race ever in Europe. And he raced in Kiev back in 2014. So Liu Zhuang done for the afternoon. The boat taken out of the water. We are set just moments away from kicking off Q2. Let's go back to Jonathan. Jonathan, what do you got, buddy? Sorry, John, I threw it to you too quickly. All right, we continue to look, and there you can see boat number 51. And that is the driver that was the big surprise for everybody here in France, as it was the driver who came up as a rookie as Christophe Larigot out of France. Now getting set for a Q2 session for him. Good for him. And, of course, we talked about Marit Stromoy, his teammate, not moving on. This is his first race. He started racing, though, 15 years ago. So Christophe Larigot is not a rookie by any means. As we look farther down the dock, tremendous crowds here this afternoon along the Lac Leman. We're glad you're with us. Steve Michael and Jonathan Jones, 2-time winner of this race.
The new Emirates team. Scott, conditions really rough out there today. How's your driver Al Hamli finding it?
He's finding it quite rough. The goal is to get in the top 12 in the first session and not push too much. And second session's coming up, and it's when the pressure starts to come. You need to push to get in the top 6 now.
Is he confident that he can get into the top 6 with the boat that he's running? I know he's running a Baba boat, but it is one of those quite short boats and the wide boats for acceleration. Must be a handful out in this water. Does he feel he can hold the boat on the water and get a good time?
We're hoping. I think it's not only him has a handful. I think everyone has a handful out there. So it's going to be a challenge for him, and we hope Hamid and Eric both can meet the challenge and get both the team, Emirates team, Sanaa, and our team into the top 6 for sure.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Scott Gilman, Mr. Cool from SoCal, California, out of Los Angeles, a 4-time world champion here on our circuit. He won the race in France back in 1997. 23 career victories for Scott Gilman. And of course, he was asked to move along when earlier this year, Team Abu Dhabi decided they wanted to make driver changes, and he didn't feel like, well, maybe that's not the right thing to do. And they said, well, okay, we're going to do what we have to do. And Scott Gilman was moved on farther down in the city of Abu Dhabi and started his own race team. And he's been working diligently to put the sponsorship package together. And they have a wonderful array of sponsors now on that race boat. So Scott Gilman, well-deserved. And he just recently moved back to his summer home in Italy. So Scott Gilman now trying to get his young driver focused and back again. Let's go back. Jonathan, who do you got?
Here we are now with Philippe Desertan, the team crew chief and the team owner of Team China, with his driver Philippe Chap, current world champion, looking very, very good out there today. Philippe, how is Chap finding the conditions?
It's quite hard, and at the moment we don't want to take any risk. The most important in go and Q2, and we hope that Q3 will be tomorrow morning on a flat condition. But it's like a lottery for us with this type of water. So we follow the rule, we go on Q2 and try to be on top 6, and let's see what's happened after.
So do you think at the moment that they're going to run Q3 tomorrow morning because of the conditions?
For me, I think it will be more safe, but we are under UEM rule, and we are waiting all information.
And tell me, how do you think the Moore boat is going to run this year? Because I know you've been developing that boat over the last 2 years, and at the end of last year, you know, Philippe Chap and the entire team were very, very much on top of their game. Are you fairly confident for this year?
At the moment, the boat is fantastic, especially also on the rough water. It's only depend on which type of risk we are able to take. We are thinking about this race, but also the full season. So for the boat, we are 100% sure that he is very fast on flat water and on a rough condition also.
So what you're saying is it's not all about winning, it's about being consistent and getting points right the way throughout the year that could make you world champions for the second time.
Of course we are working on that, and let's take race one by one, but for sure our objective is to finish on the top first.
Okay, good luck this weekend, because we know there's going to be a lot of people watching out for Philippe Chap, the French driver and the current world champion, racing out here on the water today and tomorrow.
All right, Jonathan, you can come back and join me here in the location, the broadcast booth over on the east side of the complex here in Timing and Scoring. Nice job getting a chance to get the inside scoops on drivers. Just had Marit Stromoy come by, and I'll tell you what, Marit, I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to put you on headset here, and tell us exactly. What a shame. I mean, this is obviously where you didn't want to be, but instead, 14th place, and you can't move on any farther today.
No, I mean, these conditions is really the worst thing I could have, considering my new very, very short boat. So, and oops, oh shit, sorry. One had to go there. Was about to go there.
No,
it's not racing. This is just stupid for me. Okay. It's a whole of a meter, and it can appear wherever and whenever. So for me, it's just luck that no one hasn't turned over yet.
Right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. We got high hopes for you for tomorrow, and hopefully the weather conditions will be better.
Yeah.
We'll see how this plays out. Thank you, Marit. What a shame. Marit Stromoy out, and not moving on any farther, and it's just a shame that we had such high hopes for Marie Stromoy, as I bring Jonathan back in. I mean, she's saying this thing is just way over the head of a lot of people right now. It's just kind of a survival test. So we're going to try to get in this session here. We've got 2 minutes in. A lot of hop, skipping, and jumping on these boats as they go through. And this is really going to be intense. The intensity of trying to put in a fast lap to get to the top 6. Jonathan, will they go over the edge? This is the big question right now.
Well, you know, this is all about experience and about boat balance on the water. You know, I was talking about it earlier on. It's all about putting ballast into that boat so that you can run at a fairly good speed and the boat is controllable on top of the water. Now, like I said earlier, again, the longer boats are going to be more suited to this water, and some of these French guys that have just come along for this race, we may see them having a good finish here this year, you know, because they're running very, very strong out there. But Rubayan at the moment, he's put up a time. He's in first again. I did speak to Alex Radovanovic, who was saying that you know, he was looking strong. Tarente now has moved into the lead, 6 seconds behind. Philip Stark now in that second, so it's changing all the time, Steve.
Yeah, Eric Stark, 2.6 seconds back. He had a great flyer. Now Alex Carella jumps back up into that number 2 position, 1.52 seconds, getting closer and closer to Sean Tarente. 2.5 minutes into this 20-minute voyage that we're going to be taking here on this very rough and difficult 2.34 course. And now we've got yellow flag coming up, and it looks like it's
Cantando,
Cantando, boat number 24. What a shame for the driver, the veteran driver out of Milan, Italy. And for Cantando now, he for himself is starting his 151st race. He goes all the way back to 1996 when Wuxi in China. He's had 42 podiums. He's had 12 victories, Jonathan. Many people say, look, he took on the challenge of his family building their own boats. They didn't want to be a follower of the DAC boats that were built in Como, Italy by Guido Capellini, still are today by big numbers here. And he decided to go in a different direction. A lot of people said if he had just focused in on getting a decent DAC boat, he'd be a multi-time world champion. He hasn't gone down that highway, though, however. And for him, he's doing his best to try to come up with something, but he's one of the 3 drivers that raced here in all the way back in Chalon in 2000, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and to be honest, Steve, I mean, these waters should suit an experienced driver like Cantando. I mean, when it comes down to the slick water, he's always struggling, you know. At the moment, he's down in 7th or 8th, something like that. He hasn't got the speed of some of these top guys, although he definitely has the experience, that's for sure. And I thought this weekend, this may play into his hands, you know. Having this slightly longer boat here in these conditions, I mean, surely with the experience that he's got, I thought he'd be right up there, but he seems to be struggling at the moment. And where is he? He's down in 11th position, so, you know, he needs to move up to what you call, and he's got some kind of technical problem.
Yeah, he never finished a lap, Jonathan. We never even got him recorded on 11. So the thing is with him, now remember, this guy has got a lot of zest, and he really pushes the boat to the max. Remember what happened in Lahti in Finland a few years ago? He went storming toward number 1, and the waves were well over a meter high. He just launched the boat, went around Guido Capellini, but ended his day shortly after that. But he's not shy about taking on a challenge of heavy water. We got heavy waves and water right now here on this race course as we've got the yellow flag out in Q2.
Yeah, and like I said earlier on, Steve, he's you know, he is one of the top drivers. He's one of the most experienced drivers, and you know, let's see how it pans out tomorrow. I think if he can keep the whole thing together, I think he'd be really good.
All right, we come back. There you see, we've done over 5.5 minutes here of this 20-minute session expected. And again, on the water, we can see the drivers. There's Yusuf Al-Robian, who was at the number 1 position for a brief time. And he's dropped down into the 4th spot. Remember, the top 6, only these 6 will move on for the qualifying session and getting a chance to run for pole position.
I tell you, I can see Sean Tarente on the far end of the circuit there, Steve. And boy, is he flying that boat on top of the water. He's in number 1 slot at the moment, 1.52 seconds ahead of Carella, but he's looking really strong out there. And these conditions seem to be getting worse and worse as time goes on.
All right, Tarente came around. He set the fast time. He's done a 59.65 as he tiptoes through the corner. Oh my, he got caught up in a crosswind in the waves, side by side, hanging on now, teetering on the edge of disaster, getting it back up. Wow, was that fantastic running. Torrente, did he go faster? Let's see what he did. Yes, he did. He did a 58.51. We're having fun with him. But boy, was that a struggle to get that sub-59 second lap, and he's backing off.
But Steve, he's having fun out there. You know, he's enjoying it. He'll take any conditions on. If it's calm or if it's smooth or, you know, if it's rough and the wind's blowing, he can just about handle most things.
Yeah, and Ahmed Alhami just went by and said, oh yeah?
Woohoo!
I can go quicker. And he did.
And stop. And Rubayan's moved back into number 1 slot.
So that's how fast it changes from first to fourth. And remember, and Celio in that 5th place, and now Corella in the 6th spot. Those are the 6. If it stopped right now, it would be moving on to Q3, but we still got a long way to go in this fun, zesty session. Just when you think they can't go any faster, they keep going faster. And Yusuf Al-Robian's in that number 1 spot with a 57.13, and he's almost a second quicker than anybody else on this race curve right now.
Yeah. In fact, you know, when I spoke to Alex Radovanovic there earlier on, he was saying, he said, Josef is really surprising me because we knew he had a good balanced boat, but he's handling these conditions beautifully out there at the moment, but it's still wide open. 7 minutes and 50 seconds taken, 12 minutes to go to the end of the session, so a lot can happen here.
A bit of a quandary now for Sean Torrente. Do you push again? You're down in the 4th. Yeah, he's pushing again. He's going for it. You know, you're kind of caught in the middle here. Now Torrente's down in the 5th position. He's got jumped by Sami Celio, who goes to the number 1 spot. Does a 56.08. Oh my. Sami Celio looking for his 23rd career pole position. Feeling good. And there's his teammate, Philip Rams, who's now dropped down into 7th position, now down into 8th position. He's drifting rearwards. Torrente now all the way down in the 6th spot. He's going to have to keep pushing here as they come around on the backside of this race course. So it all comes down to this, Jonathan. Who's got the best setup and who's got the best balance in these boats in these kind of conditions?
Yeah, but you can see there, Roms there trying his best he can. I mean, he's not far off, Steve. He's in 8th position. I know he's 3.69 off that pole at the moment with Sami Celio, but he's certainly going for it.
And moving up the ladder, Jonas Anderson jumps up and joins the fray, which kicks Torrente down into the 7th position. So our young driver out of Miami is going to have to somehow gather it back up and really push. Look at Celio do the dance on the water as he gathers it back up and almost puts the boat on its back. Was able to save it as he tiptoes his way down, spots and touching the water. And here's his teammate, Philip Rahm's going to try to do his best. He's down in 9th. He's got to move up. And right now, he's got to pick up 1.4 seconds to get him up into the top 6.
And now the guy on the bubble is Sean Torrente. He's going for another lap. He's got a fairly clear water ahead of him. I bet he's hoping that there's none of this rough water is going to come in from the far end of the circuit, and he can complete this lap and do a good time. But 7th at the moment, not enough for that for the shootout.
Well, you know the old saying, the cream rises to the top, and we're seeing it right now. Sami Celio, a 2-time world champion in the number 1 spot. Nobody's got more poles than he does actively right now on this tour. And at the moment, he's 1.05 seconds ahead, as you mentioned, as we watch Ahmed Al-Hamli in that boat. As we pick up the world champion in that number 1 position. That's Philip Shepp, and he's got to get to the top 6 in a hurry. He's down to 9th, and here comes Torrente. Did he move up? Well, he moved up to spot. He moved up 1. He moved up into the 6th position. He's on the bubble now.
Corella now in 3rd, going for another run out there. I think they're slowly but surely, Steve, getting used to the conditions out here. As Chiap flies past us there, 4th position at the moment, sitting comfortable for a top 6.
Yeah, but they just kicked Torrente back down into the 7th position with that run.
Yeah, the conditions I think have got rougher, but what they've done is after that first session, you could see a lot of people craned the boats out. They added more ballast to keep that boat stuck onto the water a little bit more, and they're now getting used to these incredibly difficult conditions out on the circuit here.
Just hanging on, doing their best here as you take a look now with just 9 minutes remaining in this Q2 session as we eliminate 6 more boats. We go from 12 to 6, and those people hoping to get into Q3, well, they'll come out one by one, solo laps. They get a chance to run a pair all by themselves to see who can steal pole position and start number 1 tomorrow for the 19th Grand Prix of France. It'll be starting 1500 local time and 1300 GMT. And we'll have it right here for you live. Don't forget to join us here on the website, F1H2O as well.
Torrente still in 7th position there, waiting on the far end of the circuit. Water conditions look just a slightly bit better now as he goes for a run around there, and just to see if he can get that 6th position and move into the shootout. But boy, the boat handling really, really badly. I think he needs to put some weight in the nose of that to keep it there so that he can lift the boat on top of the water. If he does that with a lot of weight up on the front, Steve, it'll level the boat out and allow him to push a little bit harder and get into the top 6.
He's got plenty of time. He's got 7 minutes and 55 seconds remaining. You are watching our current World Championship points leader in the Drivers' Championship. We've won 1 time. We've run the race in Doha 95 days ago, Doha Bay, and it was so bad there that day, the way the wind conditions were, that we really literally had to wait till early morning race day. We were down here and the sun was coming up. We're out there running Q2, Q3s.
Yeah. We are. We're picking up again Torrente on that far straight, the number 77 boat. That's a Baba boat built by Massimo Ruggiero in northern Italy. My understanding is that the engine that he's got on the back there at the moment is obviously a Mercury 2.5 two-stroke engine. The tuning being done by Nico van der Kellen from Belgium. Nico's a very, very experienced mechanic and tuner of these Mercury engines, and Torrente's having a hard time. The way the boat is bouncing on top of the water there with him. He's got a handful, isn't he? I said earlier he was having fun out there. I think I changed my mind now.
Yeah, I think he's really struggling now. As you said, possibly the way the nose comes up on that boat, he's literally flying that boat around. It's not sticking to the water much.
No, and you see what happens, Steve? If you back off, then the boat will not handle as well. You've got to keep your foot down, 3/4 throttle, something like that, and run the boat on the trim. As you can see, almost loses control on the far end of the circuit there where he's going over those waves. He has to trim the boat out, and he has to control the boat by the throttle rather than the trim that moves that engine in and out.
Just in front of him in the 6th spot is Ahmed El Hamli, and guess what? He's staying right out there. The two of them are shadowing each other, watching them, because they know that either one of them could get burned and be sent out of the top 6 and thus not have a chance to run for pole here in a little while in Q3. So El Hamli, who is on the catbird seat, Torrente looking on the outside, trying to get in.
You can see El Hamli there now, trying to go for another lap. The boat is that's Al Hamli's teammate there on the far end of the circuit. But you can see Torrente there flying down past us, the boat almost out of control as he tries to improve on that 7th position.
Yeah, and Eric Stark, who's down behind Torrente, is right behind him. He's trying to get in because he's in the 8th position. So you've got the 6th, 7th, and 8th place boats out there right now, hammering around lap after lap, desperately trying to find some clear water. Coming back in is Philip Rams in at 10th position. Whether he'll make a late change or not, we're not sure, but we've got just over 5 minutes remaining, now 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So this drama is going to pick up in scale with almost hurricane force as they come out of the corner now. Now they fly through. We keep an eye on that final corner. Here comes Torrente down the front straightaway. Let's see what he does. He's determined this time. Torrente has gone up and moved into the 2nd place position, and he has run a 56.45. You know, because the conditions are the way they are, it didn't look very exciting at all, but my word, it just shows you the drama of the race course as Eric Stark fights his way by. He's trying to get in. He's in 8th place. Stark now desperately trying to get the Emirates boat in, as both Emirates team boats are 7th and 8th, Jonathan. They're fighting each other, or fighting together, to try to get up into the top 6. And Jonas Anderson now in the 6th position is sitting on the catbird seat. Tell you what, Ahmed El Hamli needs 0.4 of a second. Eric Stark needs about 0.8 of a second to improve to get up into the top 6.
Al Hamli there, Steve, just through the right-handed, 450 meters straight there into where is the worst end of the circuit with the rollers coming in. He's coming around the far end there. You can see he's thrown the boat into that last corner. Is he going to improve on that position at the moment, 7th? Is he going to get into the top 6?
Oh my, what a flyer he took. Did you see that, Jonathan?
He's still there. Oh, look at that. Almost nosedived that boat as he put up that time and got into 2nd position overall.
Talk about desperation and talent and verve and luck. As we can see him coming off the corner now. This is the man to watch. Eric Stark as we're down to 3.5 minutes to go, and Stark is just as desperate as anybody else. He's in that 8th place, Jonathan.
Yeah, this is the lap. He's got to do it, Steve. And he was flying on the top of the water there. The boat almost out of control. He's obviously running with a little bit of negative trim. That means that the engine is actually tucked under the tunnel, which doesn't allow it to have too much lift. But what happens then is that the boat slaps on the water as it goes around, and if you hit a big wave, you could quite easily lose control.
Loads of drama now out on the race course. There you see Jonas Andersson, the Swede. He's on the catbird seat. He's sitting in a 6th and final spot as he goes whistling by. And now Ahmed Al-Hamli, he's pushing. Did he move up any? No, he's still down in the 7th spot. So he and his teammate Eric Stark with the Emirates team 7th and 8th. And they're trying to knock on the door and get up. There's Stark. He's in the 8th position. Again, he needs to improve by about 0.6 of a second. So let's see if he can do it here. Are the conditions getting any better, Jonathan?
I don't think they are. I think they're pretty much the same as they have been for best part of this session. You can see they're very difficult for these boats, especially, as I said, for these short, long, wide boats, you know, that are not used to these conditions. But they're trying their utmost there. Jonas Andersson still out. He's in that 6th slot at the moment. He knows he's going to have to put up a better time if he can keep there into the top 6. And you can see there Al-Hamli behind him trying to improve on his lap, trying to get round the far end of the circuit there. The boat bouncing from side to side, almost losing control there, Steve, as he comes round into the start-finish line.
Less than 2 minutes to go. 1 minute, 45 seconds. Time for maybe 1 or 2 more laps maximum for these drivers as we go on board. There you get a chance to see Ahmed Al-Hamli. Al-Hamli in the 7th position. He still needs to find 0.5 of a second to jump past Jonas Andersson. So you've got the 6th, 7th, and 8th place boats on the water right now with less than 1.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, but the problem with Al-Hamli here is, look, he's not only having the rough conditions, but he's got the dirty water of the boat in front of him. And there's only 3 boats out on this circuit at the moment. What they should do is they should give him a little bit more of a gap. But I think he's managed, yeah, he's overtaken he has overtaken Jonas Andersson coming down there now, down the long back straight as he almost flies the boat coming into that right-hander and down the 450-meter straight into the last 2 turn, boys.
Just hanging on, desperately hanging on, trying to do what he can here. Here he comes out. This is a tough part of the course as they hit the crosswinds. He's gone over. Oh, what a shame. Ahmed Al-Hamli. Desperation move by him turns into major disappointment, and Ahmed Al-Hamli is blown over and he is done.
That's a last lap gasp there, just to try and get into the top 6, you know. Al-Hamli on the bubbling 7th there. He was absolutely smoking. He came round the right-hander, carrying tremendous speed as he went down to the last 2 turn, boys. But this is where the difficulty has been, always on that far end of the circuit, and he just lost control. Look at that boat flying out of that water.
Totally airborne, and he came over, and then he finally nosed it over 180 degrees, parked it in its rear end, came back up through the transom, and now watch it again. Airborne, can't hold it, desperately. Now he's just a rider as he goes by, crashes on the nose, it comes back hard on the transom, and that ends his day in tears as Ahmed Al-Hamli trying desperately to get up into the top 6. It is not going to happen. Jonathan, looks like this session has come to a close, and that slammed the door not only on Ahmed Al-Hamli but his teammate Eric Stark, who probably had another lap and a half to run. He is done for the afternoon. So the Emirates team ends up in disappointment in a big way. They just came as close as they could to make it to the top 6 in the shootout, and they both missed.
And now he's got another boat for tomorrow, we know that. I think that the boat for tomorrow is slightly longer than this one, which will probably suit him. But you could see the driver now sits in that area, that cocoon on the front part of the boat. We call it the safety cell. He's strapped in with a 5-point harness, and he's got a tremendous amount of protection around him. I mean, in years gone by, an accident like that, the best that driver could have hoped for was to be in hospital. It could have been really, really serious. But you know, with the strength of this cockpit, in these incredible accidents, it makes sure that the driver is safe and able to get out of the boat okay.
All right, Jonathan, let's go to the replay. Let's see this one more time, and this is on board. Here we go. As we get the Osprey rescue team taking the driver out. Thankfully, he looked like he was in no worse for wear after going over, and obviously really a major surprise for him there. As you said, it was it was all or nothing, Jonathan, and he got nothing out of it, but at least he gave it his push. And as you said, maybe the boat that he's got as a backup tomorrow, which is longer, may be more favorable for him. Okay, he's going to go down, started midstream. Now let's watch this again, Jonathan. Looks strong. He just got past Jonas Anderson, and there he goes, just too much. He tried to save it. Now he's riding nose, transom, ending, goodbye. So long, shut the lights off on the way out the door. That's the end of his qualifying for the day, and what a tough break for Ahmed Al-Hamli on board. Here we go. As he comes down and as he works his way almost down into turn number 5, and there he goes. He launches off. Now he goes upside down. He'll see the nose hit the water. He'll come back up, and the transom hits, and thankfully Ahmed Al-Hamli is okay. He goes, hey, what the heck? I do what I can do. You know?
What do you reckon? He said, how many points out of 10 for that one?
Yeah. Absolutely. As his teammate goes whistling by. So they love it here. They've got a huge wave of supporters here. They have a lot of the companies that are based here, and they've got a wonderful cheering section for Ahmed Al-Hamli. He's got his fans, and they're all here cheering him on, and they know he gave it all that he could, 100% and more, and it ends in tears today. But you know what? Again, as we talked about, tomorrow he's going to have a bigger boat on the water, which could really open up a possibility for him to run even stronger. Even though he's going to start way down in the mid-pack, he may have a better performance actually in the bigger boat.
Oh, for sure. And the other thing is, you know, it is important to have pole position here, but if these conditions are the same tomorrow as they are today, it's not going to be such a big thing to have that pole position. What you've got to work on now is a boat that is well balanced on top of the water. As we said earlier, you've got to put a lot of ballast right around the front end of that boat, and pick the right propeller as well. You want a propeller that will really hold the back of the boat on the water, and that's what I would strive for tomorrow. Pole position, yes, it is important, but I don't think it's going to be critical if we have these conditions again for the Grand Prix.
These are the drivers that are going to move on to Q3. We'll get a shot to get the pole position. So we're going to wait and see how this plays out. Celio, Torrente, oddly enough, in large, longer Baba boats that seem to work well for them. Yusuf Al-Roban in the DAC. Alex Corella in a DAC. Philippe Shep, who is the world champion, he got in with the Moore boat. And then Jonas Anderson, of course, in a Mulgard boat. So there you go. You got 4 different boats in the top 6 in the lineup, but it seems like those longer DACs or the Baba boats seem to really work for these drivers, Celio and Torrente.
Yeah, and I think the Moore boat is also working well. I mean, we do know, I spoke to Philippe Desertan earlier. He said, all we're going to do is as much as we need to do. If we feel that we can't make it, we'll go out and put a faster lap up. But we're not going to take any chances. As you see there, Al-Hamli kissing off that wave. This was a last lap gasp to try and get into that top 6, and boy, did he come down hard in the boat, huh? Coming from about 130 mile an hour plus to stand still in quite a short distance.
Yeah, not total desperation, but he knew it was either now or forget it. You know, because he was frustrated. He was having a hard time to get around Jonas Anderson, but he knew he had to somehow get past him to get clear water like you were talking about. It's got to be clean, and Jonas Anderson wasn't doing him any favors by going, okay, you want to go around me? Work your way around me. And you can't blame Jonas for doing that.
No, absolutely not, because he had to keep his place there in the top 6.
Yeah, so anyway, he worked his way through, got around, and then just got on it a bit too soon. We were worried about him going across and cutting around turns 5 and 6 in the crosswinds, but I'll tell you what, he never even got there.
Yeah, the interesting thing now, Steve, is, I don't know, I spoke to Philippe Desertan, and he was saying, are they going to have the top 6 tomorrow morning? I'm not sure. Have you heard any different, or are we going to go ahead with the end of the session now this afternoon?
Actually, we're waiting to find out what the official line is right now. We're not going to tell you to sneak off yet because we're waiting to find out ourselves, but we have 2 possibilities. We're going to continue on, maybe go sailing, and, you know, or else run the boat in the morning, possibly.
Yeah.
So
we'll just have to keep an eye now on the UIM officials down there.
Absolutely. When we know, we'll tell you. How's that?
We can see the crew chiefs actually discussing things. I can see Scott Gilman there now, just come out of the UIM commissioner's caravan down the bottom there, and so I don't know what the decision is.
Yeah, you know, we talked about this all the time to find out exactly what the situation was. So, you know, the big thing is, can we move on? And Alex Radovanovic is back.
Yeah, we're just going to call him in now, Steve.
Yeah,
just
let's
to
find
see
out what
if
the
he
latest
knows,
is.
if he knows more than we do.
Why don't you put the headset on? Alex, you were down there. Tell us what the latest decision is. What do you know at this point?
Well, at this point, the officials decided that we will postpone the shootout for tomorrow morning because this condition, they are really bad, and I really support the decision of the officials.
Okay, so that's probably pretty much what we expected it was going to happen. It was a rough afternoon out here. A lot of desperation, but I'll tell you something. We saw a lot of talent, too, as well, to put in some of those fast times.
Yeah, you can see on the end, the conditions were really bad, and some of those drivers, they really pushed their limits on completely, so it was really dangerous, but now you can see who's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, interestingly enough, we talked about Sami Selli and Sean Trente both running a little bit older, longer bob-up boats, and boy, they went to the top, you know?
Yeah, that's true. They really run the boat who are more suitable for these conditions. We were running with the short boat, but we set up the boat perfectly, so I'm really, really happy with our position at the moment.
All right, well, thank you very much for stopping by, giving us the scoops, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. And as we watch the boats being towed back in, and they will do some more work on that boat. That boat has had more problems, Jonathan. I'll tell you what. I mean, it's been beaten up a bit, this boat, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they're probably going to, if they hold it until the morning, that will make a lot more sense, you know, because I understand that for today, they did promise that the conditions were going to get worse, and then they said tomorrow it was going to get very, very warm, a lot of sunshine, very little wind again. So it does make sense because, you know, it's almost sort of venturing on the area of danger out there, isn't it, Steve? Because, you know, like you saw Al Hamli's boat, you can see the damage on the front of it there. I mean, you know, he was on borrowed time going around that far end of the circuit. There really wasn't much he could have done. He just hit a road wave there, and you know, but at least he's come out of it safe. You know, we don't want to see accidents out here where people, you know, they got to be taken to hospital and things like that because they've taken, you know, an extra chance. And we'll just have to see what they decide now in the next half hour or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we go back on board as the young driver from Abu Dhabi, the 36-year-old, getting his unintentional pilot's license as he took off here.
Right. Just see it kissing there, Steve.
Right
just there, bang, he hits away there, you saw it?
It's all
and
it
the
took.
Entire boat is like a low-flying aircraft then. Once it goes over a certain angle, there's no going back, you know.
Right.
It's going to blow over like that. And you could see how important the cell was because he came down really hard on the front. Look, he's wrecked the front of the cell there with the pressure of the water. And you can see the guys there now getting all the water out of the back of the boat. They'll have to strip that engine down, that Mercury 2.5 V6 400 horsepower engine. So they'll have to get that sorted because he'll probably end up running that engine tomorrow, although he'll have to go to the back of the field because he's changing the boat. And the rules are if you change the engine, if it breaks or there's some problems with the boat, you decide to use another boat, then you go to the back of the field. But I think if they get the boat balanced well for him tomorrow, and I know, you know, Scott Gilman and the crew there, they're very, very skilled people, so they'll have a completely different setup tomorrow and a different approach to the race itself.
All right, tomorrow, hang in there. We'll let you know on the website when we're coming back on to finish off this Q3 session. We'll start up and find out who will start tomorrow on pole position. The race will be held tomorrow at 1500 local, 1300 GMT. For those stations leaving us now, thanks for being with us. For Jonathan Jones and all the great international TV crew here on Lake Geneva, we want to thank you very much for stopping by. We will see you back here tomorrow as we continue this 19th Grand Prix of France, round number 2 of this UIM Formula 1 H2O World Championship. I'm Steve Michael saying thanks for stopping by. Have a lovely evening. We will see you back here for the Grand Prix tomorrow. So long, everybody. Yesterday we had unchangeable conditions that were really unmanageable, so they've elected after the heavy swells to stop things at Q2. We move on to Q3 here, day number 2. I'm talking. All right, we're set for Q3, and the first boat coming out, Jonas Andersson, as the Swedish driver works his way out onto this race course. He was 6th quickest coming into Q3, and for Jonas Andersson, who has started this year so far, qualified 7th, just outside the top 6 in Doha, but had a nice finish, Jonathan. He finished in the 4th spot in the top 5.
Yeah, and he's also, in the time that we've had off between now and the last Grand Prix, they've changed this boat significantly. They've designed new sponsons. He said the only thing that's the same is the actual cockpit itself, and he feels they've made a big step forward. The other thing is he's improved the engine program, where he needs to get the reliability, because last year he was struggling. Got a new sponsor, T.A. Schalt and Maskin AB. That's a good friend of his based in Sweden, who's putting a lot of money behind this program, and let's hope as a partnership it's going to work well for them this year.
Well, for this driver out of Sweden, this is his 35th time in the top 6 shootout, and he is chasing down his 3rd pole position of his career, and he'll be going around for 2 laps, and he is now underway. Full flight down that front straightaway through one. Now they've adjusted the course a little bit, Jonathan. Turn number 2 right here as he goes around this point is a little bit closer to the fan, so it's not really 100 meters between 2 and 3. It's just a tad longer.
Yeah, they've opened the circuit on both ends, in fact, Steve, and that will change things somewhat, but although it's been changed, it's not a massive amount, and that boat's running really well. The only disadvantage he has, Steve, he's the first boat on the water. Nobody's known what the conditions are like, so basically it's a very unknown quantity for him, but that boat is running out there really well, carrying a lot of speed. The cornering, he tells me, is a lot better now with these new sponsons, and hopefully he'll put up a good time.
All right, we check out Jonas Andersson as he comes off turn number 6, the first time of the afternoon, as he slides out down that front straightaway across the timing checkered line as he comes by the start finish, and we get the first time of the day as Jonas will now start this lap. Let's see what he'll do here, Jonathan. What they've done is they've elected to give the drivers a full lap to warm up, get to know the race course. So now he's done that exploratory lap. Now he begins the 2 laps for him to try to see the fast time he can put down. Remember, only 2 drivers yesterday in the conditions that we had here in Q1 and Q2 did sub 57-second laps. Now, for Jonas Andersson, yesterday, he got a 101, so he had only 7 laps in practice yesterday.
There we go, coming into the last but one turn by there. Still a little bit lumpy on that part of the circuit. Coming around now that short shoot of 120, 130 meters, and down past the start-finish line. Let's see what sort of a lap time he puts up.
All right, here we go, Jonas Andersson. 51.81, so that's the standard. That's the gauntlet that he's thrown down. He's got a 2nd lap to improve on that. So Jonas Andersson out of Fruvi, Sweden, in his 70th race start, has 4 victories, and this is the 35th time that he's been in the top 6 qualifying, looking for his 3rd career pole here this morning.
Again, out to turn 3, down the far side of the circuit. Conditions really improved immensely this morning. 460 meters straight into the right-hander, the only right-hander that we have here this weekend, and down to the far end of the circuit, which still is a little bit lumpy down there. You can see the boat as he tries to settle it. He's still being a little bit cautious there, losing a 1/10 or 2 of a second, and that's maybe where it's going to make the difference to get pole position here today.
All right, did he improve? Let's find out. He did a 51.81. He did a 50.63. So he now has said to the rest of the field, all right, try to improve on that. So Jonas Andersson does a 50.63, and we're underway here. And I'll tell you something, Philippe Schepp is up next, and all eyes in France are on this man who is a defending world champion. Philippe Schepp comes into this race with 2 career poles. This is his 94th start. He's been in the top 6 shootout 27 times out of 93 starts. Wow.
Yeah, and they've got a very good setup. A French team, but obviously called Team China. The funding comes from China, but very much a French team there. All the mechanics, the boat builder, David Moores from France. These boats are built in up in northern France, and they've been perfecting them now over the last 2 or 3 years with Philippe Schepp, who's got a wealth of experience in these boats, and they really are the benchmark at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see with Philippe Schepp is he going to be any quicker than Jonas Andersson? And we don't know, because as I said, Jonas, they've changed the boat, they've altered many things on that boat. He's getting more horsepower from the engines. This boat actually, as I said, designed in France by David Moore. Engine is actually a Mercury 2.5 V6 two-stroke, and the tuning work on this engine is done by Alex Ledden, who comes from Montreal, the French part of Canada, and together they have a very strong package which allowed him to win the championship last year.
All right, Philippe Shep, who has gotten poles in 2 of the last 3 races. He got them back-to-back to end the season a year ago in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah. Enough to get him home for his first world title, and for the first time in 35 years, a Frenchman won the world championship. And here he comes out of the corner, down through turn number 3, heading for the right-hander. Tell you what, he looked like he was on rails yesterday morning in practice, Jonathan, when the conditions were very similar to what they are now.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's going to be as quick as Jonas. He took quite a wide line there between 2 and 3 and lost a bit of ground there, no doubt about it. Again, it's obviously difficult down that far end. He's swinging it round right. Here we go. This is where he's going to do his 2 laps, and we'll see how much of a difference there is between Shep, the current world champion, and Jonas Andersson, the Swedish driver.
All right, Philippe Shep now racing down, coming through the corner, back through 1, heading down in toward turn number 2. That's 590 meters down through that point as he circumnavigates a hard 90-degree left turn, moves up about 150 meters into turn number 3. Almost lost it, oh my, tiptoeing his way through as he was able to save it. Almost barrel rolled it, Jonathan. Wow.
But you know, the other thing, Steve, is that he knows, and he almost lost control again there as he came through that right-hander, turn number 4. This is not going to be a fast lap, in my opinion. He's going to have to regroup, get out there, settle down a little bit. He's got a lot of pressure on him because he's a French driver at the French Grand Prix, and let's see if he can do a better time this one round.
All right, he's going to surrender the first lap, just get himself into position. He takes it way wide. This is it, his last opportunity. This will be lap number 2. First one on the board. Of course, he backed off, did a 54.91, but here he goes. This is his last opportunity to steal pole, get the opportunity to put himself number 1 here at his home Grand Prix.
Into turn 2, very nice turn. The boat's accelerating really well off the corners, and it looks like he's got some good top-end speed. So is he going to beat Jonas Andersson with this 1 lap that he's got now?
Philippe Shep now slides through the right-hander. Looked a lot nicer and cleaner that time around. Building the confidence as he works his way down, as he flies that boat down into turn number 5. Hooks it on a dime, gets it down around the corner, heading for 6. Philippe Shep in perfect trim coming out of the corner. This will be a flyer. We'll see if he can do better than a 56.3. Did he go to number 1? He did. He did a 47.69. Oh my, what a time. And he just throws down the gauntlet on that one, Jonathan. That was a flyer.
That boat is running well out here, Steve. And I noticed there on the far end of the circuit between turn 5 and the last turn, he was carrying a lot more speed into the turn and accelerating better out of it than Jonas Andersson. And that is a blistering time, 47.69 against 50.63.
Now that's the second fastest time of the weekend. Only Sean Torrente in practice yesterday, when the conditions were a bit different, at a 47.5. So that's a strong performance by Philippe Shep. Now,
but when you look at the times from yesterday, Steve, you know, although we appear to think they've changed the circuit, and I don't know, perhaps we were wrong, because today he did a 47.69. Yesterday his fastest lap was a 47.73. So really nothing in it, is there?
No, there really isn't. And now here comes the 3-time world champion, Alex Corella, who lost his championship to the French driver Philippe Shep a year ago at the very last race in Sharjah. Started this season gangbusters strong. He won the first race in Doha, won the second race in China. Looked like he was on his way to a startling performance, but the problem was he started having bad luck, and it happened at his home race course in Doha a year ago when he smashed the buoys. And now he has switched teams. He's with Team Abu Dhabi, and Alex Corella is getting himself into the groove here as he has taken his exploratory lap as he comes down out of turn number 3, heading for the right-hander. And let's see what this young driver from Italy can do. As he is running a brand new boat. This boat came fresh out of the factory in Como. He helped build it with Guido Cappellini's DAC racing team. They've got a pair of brand new boats. Of course, David Del Pin, his teammate, crashed heavily earlier in the day yesterday, and he was eliminated from the proceedings. But here comes Alex Carella, and Carella, the Italian, now giving it a run. He wants to get himself back up, and he is flying the boat, and off he goes.
Huh? That looked like a low-flying aircraft as it came down past the start-finish line, going down the 500 meters straight into turn number 2. Let's see how he takes that corner, Steve. Good corner, good acceleration. Boat tends to get a little bit wet on the corner there with him, so he has scrubbed a bit of speed off. And now he's on the far end of the circuit, coming down to the right-hander, which is turn number 4.
Alex Carella from Italy, driving for Team Abu Dhabi. And for Carella coming into this race, he's had 7 wins in his last 17 starts. Carella today looking for his 11th pole of his career. And he comes out of turn number 6. Not as clean as we thought out of 5. Let's see what he does. We'll check the time. This will be the first of 2 laps for Alex Carella. Can he go to the top? He does not. He gets close, though. Does a 47.84. He's 0.15 off the time of Philippe Schepp.
Yeah, he got another lap to go for. I think he was a bit ragged on that first lap. Definitely down from the right-hander down to the far end of the circuit from turn number 4 to 5. Almost lost control of the boat. Probably overdriving the boat just a little bit, Steve. But, you know, they've had limited testing with this new design. They did test on Lake Como just before coming here, so they don't know exactly. Oh, and again there he has to settle the boat, turning around that right-hander, scrubs a bit of speed off. But is he going to be any quicker this time round as that boat bounces on top of the water into the last turn, boy?
Slapping it back and forth on the water. Let's see if it's the time that it's going to beat. Doesn't look good for Carella, though, but it can be deceiving. Did he get the time? Did he get the top spot? He did not. He did a 48.7, Jonathan, a good second slower than what he did in that first lap.
Yeah, trying too hard, Steve. That's what it is. Okay. You notice with Philippe Schepp, that boat never left the water. The back end of the boat, although there was probably only a centimetre or 2 of the boat in the water, it was just held perfectly as he went around. And Carella, I beg your pardon there, just overdriving that boat a little bit too much, trying too hard. And when you do that, you just scrub speed. You know, he made a mistake on that right-hander first time round. He made another mistake as he accelerated out to the right-hander there, got the boat far too loose, and you could see it was rocking all over the place. And, you know, that's worth probably a second there. And I think if he calms down, he could have had pole position, but not driving like that.
Well, that was a bit of a surprise, but again, it's a learning process. He's trying to learn this new boat that he was getting used to, that just came out of the factory a couple weeks ago. And now here's an interesting driver, Yusuf Al-Robian. He comes over from Formula 2. Yusuf Al-Robian is starting his 21st Formula 1 race. He's been in 5 previous top 5 performances. He's never grabbed the pole, but he is looking for his second podium and his first career win. So Yusuf Al-Robian, the driver from Kuwait, had his best finish in 4 races in Doha, where he finished 7th last year. So let's see what he can do, Jonathan. He's known for being a speedster, especially in match racing in Formula 2. He's still trying to get himself established in Formula 1.
Yeah, yesterday, I mean, he was knocking on the door all afternoon, wasn't he? I mean, he was top of the list. He was on pole position in practice. Then he dropped down to 4th or 5th. Then he was back up again to being the fastest boat. So we know the boat's got tremendous potential, and it's going to be interesting. If he can get a clean lap where he, again, doesn't overdrive that boat, this could be a guy to watch out for this weekend.
Yeah, Yusuf Al-Robian in his 21st start, as we talked about last year, was a washout with 2 DNFs, 2 crashes, and 1 penalty. And here we go, the first of 2 after his exploratory lap. Comes out of turn number 6, takes it wide, and now we should see him come by in anger as he'll fly that DAC boat just past us right now as he goes past the start-finish line.
Looking good. You can see the back of the boat is rock solid on the water there. The angle of attack of the boat is really, really good, Steve. Carrying some good speed into turn number 2 now. Let's see how he gets around there. Not bad. Again, settles the boat just a little bit too much. Gets a bit too much of the boat in the water, and that causes drag, which takes some of the speed off. But looking good at the moment.
As he comes through, bouncing his way down. It looks like there's a bit of a wash there coming out through the right-hander. Right-hander looked pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, as he takes it down with 2 more pins to go on the first of 2 laps as he goes chasing for pole position. Yusuf Al-Robian out of 5, looking down, staring at turn number 6. A tricky corner here, especially yesterday in the first 2 sessions. Can he beat a 47.69?
48-17, Steve. So he's in 3rd position. He's got another chance again there now to see if he can improve on that. Again, he needs to just calm down a little bit. You could hear the engine on the rev limiter there as he went down the long back straight. Looks a bit better out of that corner now from turn number 2 to 3. There's 100 meters. It's looking good. But whether he's going to find a second and a half, we don't know.
Yeah, he needs to get another half second up to take over this pole position as he comes out of the corner now. Final 2 turns for Yusuf Al-Robian out of Kuwait, trying to steal pole position here as he circles out of turn number 6. Rifles his way down, full flight. Look at the boat fly. Can he beat a 47.69 and move to number 1? He moves to number 2.
Good effort, Steve. 47.83 against the fastest time of 47.69. Good effort there from the Kuwaiti driver, Rubayan. And boy, I mean, he's running a DAC boat built in Italy, just like the Abu Dhabi team. And at the moment, he seems to have the legs on them.
Yeah, he's got a little bit older boat. We chatted with him last night over dinner, and he was really jacked up about his excitement for coming into this top 6 and really trying to show off the performance. They haven't had as much testing as they were hoping for, Jonathan, but they're he with Alex Radovanovich, they're going to try to do their best to spend more time together, especially with Yusuf Al-Robian in the hot desert, trying to get away from the heat.
Yeah, they're actually going to buy another boat, he was telling us, and they're going to keep that in Kuwait, and they're going to do a lot of testing there because he feels that, there's no question that seat time is very, very important, and that'll give him the confidence to push that boat even further. Now, here's a guy to look out for. Sean Torrente from America, Steve, running with a victory team out of Dubai. He only sat in this boat for the first time yesterday and put up a blistering time out there. Is he going to get pole position today?
Sean Torrente, who did a 47.5 in practice, that until the time has been the fastest time that we have seen. Let's see what he can do here. For Torrente, coming in, he's been red hot. He's won 2 of his last 4 starts. He won the opener. He leads this championship with 20 points. He's on his exploratory lap as he comes whistling down with that boat. As he goes down in toward turn number 1, what do you think, Jonathan?
He's running the boat really well. Now, this boat is slightly longer than a lot of the boats that we've seen so far today, and that may help here, Steve, because this afternoon we're expecting the wind to pick up. It's going to get a little bit rougher, and a longer boat makes it so much easier in the rough conditions. But if anybody's going to get pole, this guy can do it. He's a very, very talented driver. He was racing for the Qatar team, which disbanded after the first Grand Prix. He's the points leader this year, and he really wants to, he feels that this year could be his year for the World Championship. And yesterday sat in the boat for about 5 minutes and bang, put it on not on pole, but on the fastest lap. So if anybody can do it, Sean Torrente can.
All right, Sean Torrente now starting to mellow himself out a bit. Now focuses in on the final corner. It's time to get down to business. 2 laps to go for the American out of Miami. Let's see what Sean Torrente can do. He finished 3rd in the championship a year ago, had a chance to win the title, had bad luck, couldn't get it down, and underway he goes. Sean Torrente driving for the victory team. Had a boat that's been sitting in a shed for the last 2 years in the heat, and they worked like gangbusters to get this crew to get it back into ship shape as he goes down into turn number 1, now heading for 2, Jonathan.
Turns the boat really well there, Steve, pulls it back tight into the next turn. You can see there, good acceleration. Look, nothing of the boat as he almost overdoes it, coming out of turn number 3 then down to the right-hander.
Torrente, who was in the past known as being overly aggressive, has really settled down and matured as a driver. Let's see what he does here as he flies the boat in perfect formation now. 2 more corners to go on this opening lap, chasing the pole. The fast time to beat is a 47.69. Comes out of the corner, slides it through, heading down toward the start-finish line. Can he go faster than a 47.69? We'll get the time on him. Does not. He does a 48.61. He's behind Alex Corella. So disappointing for the American driver.
maybe two smaller propellers, Steve. You could hear that engine on the rev limiter way before turn number 2. That's a 500-meter straight there from 1 to 2, and he was on the rev limiter halfway down the straight, which means once you get onto that, you're not going to increase the speed. He also overdrove the boat out to turn number 3. We could see that he was just a little bit too loose there. He looks a bit smoother this time. He knows he's got his lap time on the dash of that boat, so he knows how well he's doing, and he knows how well everybody else is doing, and he knows he's got to push a bit harder.
All right, out of 5, out of 6, can he improve? Sitting in 4th place, the man who leads this championship in points for the victory at Doha. Can Sean Tarente steal another pole position as he comes by? And he doesn't improve. The time was a little bit quicker, but pretty steady at a 48.08. And Jonathan, you may have hit it right on the nail, the hammer, because probably he did make a wrong choice in the prop, as you said, and it just didn't get any faster for him. He's got to be disappointed.
No, I mean, yesterday he was consistent at 47.50. He was by far the quickest boat around here. You know, he's 0.2 of a second quicker than anybody else. And now Tarente is sitting 48.08, so he's lost a lot of speed there, and the conditions appear to be perfect out there this morning. And the only thing I can think it is propeller choice. And propellers are so important on these boats. We don't have a gearbox where you change gear like a car, and you have to pick the right propeller. The propeller that's good for acceleration, for the mid-range, and also for the top speed of the boat. And for the first time in a long time, Steve, we've got this type of circuit where I think this afternoon, we fingers crossed, we'll have the best Grand Prix that we've seen for a long time, because it's a lot more open, longer straights, and it gives people the opportunity to overtake. What we've seen in past Grand Prix, they're so short, pole position tends to win the race every time, because you've got 250-meter straights, 100-meter straights, and there's just no chance. But here, with this open water, long straights, I think we're in for a blinding Grand Prix.
Sami Seljo out of Finland, a 2-time world champion, 2007, 2010, the most active conqueror of pole position. He's got 22 career poles, set a record one time by getting 4 poles in a row. And tell you what, Sami Seljo has 78 top 6 performances in the shootout coming in today. This is race number 126 for Sami Seljo, the driver out of Helsinki, Finland, driving the Baba boat, and down he goes. And this interesting thing, Jonathan, is that the boat selection that they made for him, he's been struggling with it. He's had it for about a year, but they keep fine-tuning it.
Yeah, they've changed the sponsons again on this boat. They've altered quite a lot of it. My understanding, and I may be wrong, but my understanding is that he, just like Philippe Chappe, is running one of Alex Ledden's engines out of Montreal in Canada. And yesterday he looked very strong out there, and we'll just have to see how he gets on this morning. But you're right, Steve. You said that they really have struggled with this boat. You know, just because you have a new boat and a new design, it doesn't mean that it's any better than the one before. And the other boat, he was so confident in that boat that he'd always be on the money, and he had so many pole positions. This boat is supposedly a step ahead, but, you know, it's very flighty, difficult to keep on the water as he goes down past the start-finish line, down to turn number 2. Doesn't look to me, Steve, like he's carrying as much speed as Chiap did, but, you know, time's going to tell.
All right, as he comes through a critical turn number 2, this is the 90-degree left-hander setting himself for 150 meters into turn number 3. Slides the boat out, now heads toward the right-hander, Jonathan.
Good corner there, Steve. Really good acceleration off the turn. You could see the boat was, you know, it wasn't flying around anywhere. It was very stable, but hardly any. Oh, and a beautiful right-hander there. This could be an interesting lap.
All right, as Seljo heads down to the final 2 pins now. Let's see him go through turn number 5, sets the boat down quickly, airs it out, gets way too much air on the boat. That's going to hurt him as he comes out of turn number 6, not as clean. Needs to beat a 47.69. Let's check the time. He is slower than Tarente, did a 48.82. He's down in 5th position now. He's going to have to really gather it up and suck it up this time in the final turn.
I don't know, I might be wrong, but I'll tell you, he's going to have to really press hard on this lap to get there. But you could see on that last but one turn, boy, he came in there a little bit slow and then over-trimmed the boat coming onto the last turn, which is now turn number 6 there before the start-finish line, and lost a lot of time there. So he needs to calm down a little bit. Good turn on the right-hander, good acceleration. I don't know if he's carrying as much top speed as some of these front runners, but Steve, he's into the last but one. Over to you.
All right, as he comes out of that final turn, flies the boat heading into 6th. Looked a little cleaner that time. Let's see if he can move himself up farther. He's sitting in 5th. He needs to get a 47.69 to take the pole. And he does not. He does a 48.61, so he will start in 5th position. Philippe Shep of France gets the pole here at his home Grand Prix with a 47.69, and for Philippe Shep, that's his 3rd career pole position in his 94th start, and he has got to be elated as all of France, and he felt so much pressure to do well. Tell you what, he did a sparkling run. We're on this 6-pin 2.08 course here on the lake.
Yeah, no antics there, Steve. Very, very smooth all the way round. They're working with a guy called Mr. Dynamite with the propellers, and he doesn't want to work with any other team this year. He wants to stick with that team, and I noticed yesterday he brought along a lot of new propellers, and as they were taking the cover off the propeller and dropping the boat into the water, I had a good look at one or two of them, and they're quite different to the shapes were different to what I've seen on other propellers, and you know, maybe that's what's making the difference between Philippe Chiap at the moment. But they've got a very strong, as I said, all-round package, which really does make the difference. And you know, he's the guy today that I'm sure that all these other drivers are going to be looking at and trying to beat.
So there you go. The CTIC China team jumps to the start. Philippe Shep gets his 3rd career pole position, his 1st of the year. He's 2nd in the championship trail. He'd love to win this afternoon in front of his tens of thousands of fans here along Lac Le Mans. We'll find out if he can get the job done today. So we're down with qualifying, and Philippe Shep is number 1 here in France as he will set off for round number 2 of this 2015 UIM Formula One World Championship Tour and the 19th Grand Prix of France here in lovely Evian in France. Tell you what, it's going to be fun. We're going to be heading back you look back in the past times that we've been here in France. Now, you're a 2-time winner. What does it mean to win in Europe? Big deal.
Oh, it means a lot. There's no question about it. And I mean, this Grand Prix, there are so many people that have come from all over Europe to watch the race, and it's going to be a blinder, Steve.
All right, so don't run off. We're going to have the final event of the weekend, the Grand Prix itself, starting at 1500 local, 1300 GMT. For Jonathan Jones and all our great international TV crew, I'm Steve Michael saying we'll see you later on. We're less than 5 hours from the start of the 2nd Grand Prix of 2015. So long, everybody.